And welcome to this broadcast of Temper Tantrums and Transformations. It's been a while. I'm going to forego all of the apologies because we know how we can be in a spiritual battle and stuff just doesn't work out the way we planned on it happening. No matter how great I got to take this. No matter how great uh, the exciting the idea will be. So this episode is talking about breaking up with God. Now, before you turn it off, we talk about some pretty controversial things, and that's what I love about this podcast is that we are able to, or I hope that we are able to have those type of conversations that we normally wouldn't have. Uh, Christianity is messy. I'm sorry to tell you, but if anyone tells you different, ugh, I kind of think of like Jack and the Magic Beans. It's too good to be true. Everything costs, whether it's time, money, um, or something else. Everything costs. So I just hope that we're here and able to have these kind of conversations. So let's get started. This started, sometimes we look at people and we can just say, oh, they have it all together. I wish I could be them. Now we know better than that, but sometimes, our flesh can get a hold of us and we can, start thinking things like that. Like it's easy for someone like her, or well, they have everything already. They didn't have to start from scratch like I do, or they have the confidence that I wish I had. All kinds of excuses we can come up with. And one of the things that when you say yes to God, there's a book that I read. It's called The Critical Journey, and it breaks down all the stages of being in a relationship with God. If you're in a real relationship, you know that there are some ups and downs, and yeah, eventually, it's our fault because God is perfect. So it's just almost like this really isn't a fair relationship because I'm not allowed to get mad at you. But when we read the Psalms, we see how it was acted out, a relationship, because there were psalmists who were very upset with God, who let it all hang out, who were very upset with their enemies, who begged for God to kill their enemies, who told God, why did you leave me? Jeremiah, for example, was like, why did I ever listen to you? I'm just paraphrasing, but that can happen a lot. So there was one of these days when, before I start into that, the journey, the spiritual journeys are as such. Phase one, you are madly in love, head over heels. It's like a real relationship. I hate to say it's like a real relationship. It is a real relationship when you compare it. You meet that person, you are head over heels. Our middle initials are the same, so we're meant to be. Nobody could tell you any different. It's meant to be. This is my person. This is my soulmate. It's fantastic. I see no flaws. I don't want to hear any flaws. Then in stage two, there is a stage where you learn. When in a relationship with God, you learn about everything. Church is vital during this time, classes. I want to, make up for all the time I missed. I want to, learn how to be the perfect person for God. I want to make God happy. I want to show Jesus how much I appreciate him. Show me how, tell me how, tell me how. Then you move into a stage, it's called stage three, which is productive. And sometimes it's a good stage. But sometimes we can get stuck because it's such a good stage. Like in stage three of the critical journey, this is when we are productive. This is when, I'm saying yes to God. Like everything he has called me to do. I want to fulfill my purpose. I want to start that ministry. I want to start that business. I want to go door to door knocking and telling everyone about Jesus. I want to help people. This is a good stage. So sometimes we stop right there because we think we've done it. We've reached it. We're here. There's nothing better. I'm working for God. God is loving it. People are loving it. People are giving me accolades. People are saying how much I helped them change their lives. So who wants to move on, right? So then we get to what's called stage four. If we allow ourselves to continue moving on, we want to move on in God. Some people don't know there's a stage 4 because, like I said, stage 3 is so great. And the research has shown that a lot of leaders have not entered stage 4, which is why we don't hear about it. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just, talking about it today because I have hit stage 4. And in stage 4, there is something called the wall. Now, during the time that I had hit the wall, there's a runner's, when you're running and there's a marathon, it says you hit the wall. It's like you just don't feel like you can go on. You've extended all the strength that you could. And that's like, it's a psychological battle to go past that wall. So while it's not the exact same, there are some things that that happen. When you are in your stage 3, you're doing stuff for God. You're getting rewarded for it. You've shown that you've discovered your unique qualities, your unique things, your unique responsibility. You're hearing God is saying, well done. You're like, oh my gosh, nothing can get better than this. You are believing that all of your spiritual goals can be achieved. So when you go and hit the wall, one of the first things that you do is, God, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Everything was going great. What happened? If you don't go on to stage 4, you can get stuck. It's called caged at a stage. And one of the signs that you're stuck at stage 3 is you are overly zealous. You can be weary in doing well. You can get a little self-centered. You can not show people who you really are because you've propped yourself up to be this perfect person that is doing everything right for God. And that can lead to being lonely because no one can, you won't let anybody in. You won't say that, hey, I got mad at God, or hey, I was disappointed by God. So you built this bubble around you. And so that could be like a sign that it's time to move on to stage 4. But when you move on to stage 4, like I said, it's going to feel like you've done something wrong because in stage 4, while some people will think, oh, of course I want to go to stage 4. It's higher than stage 3. It's just another stage. It's not a higher or lower. And we repeat stages a lot. But when you enter stage 4, one of the key things that'll trigger that you're in stage 4 is you lost a sense of certainty. Like I know, for example, one of the things that I was very upset without knowing I was in stage 4, like had I known this information, I'd have been okay. But without knowing this information, I started questioning my faith. I started questioning what I believe. And it was very, very unsettling. Like, how can this be? This must be the devil. It's got to be an attack. I can't do this. Another thing, when you read the Psalms, and you'll see that the quite the opposite, that you did not do anything wrong. The psalmist will help you say, oh, okay, it's okay. But you feel abandoned because I couldn't find God. I know he's been there the entire time. I know this here, but in my heart, I didn't feel like he was answering my prayers anymore. I didn't feel his presence anymore. And I know there are some people who says, well, that's why you're not supposed to be moved by how you feel. But we're getting real here. So let's just be real here. You start looking for direction and other things. And I'm just going to be honest. This is one of the reasons why people leave their church, because they want the freedom to ask these questions, but they don't feel that they have the freedom to ask these questions. This is not the only reason why people leave the church, but this is one of the reasons why. And I didn't want to let go of the successes that I was having. I'm just being honest. I didn't want to let go, and I didn't want to be vulnerable. That was another thing. So how I know, like I'm able to go back and look and say, this is how I know that I hit the wall, because there was one day I was praying. And if you've seen any of my videos, you know that God speaks to me through songs and art forms such as movies and entertainment and things like that. And I remember I was trying so hard to pray. I was trying so hard to read my Bible. And I just like it was the best musical scene I've ever seen. I just burst out in a song, and I'm going to spare you. It was the Phil Collins song, Separate Lives. And one of the things, I'm going to just read you the words of the song and you'll understand a little bit. It says, well, I held on to let you go. And if you lost your love for me, well, you never let it show. And I was thinking this about God. It's like, the Bible says you love me, so you're not going to let it show. But I felt like I was in a one-sided relationship at this point. There was no way to compromise. So now we're living separate lives. It's so typical. Love leads to isolation. So you build that wall. Yes, you build that wall, and you make it stronger. Now, this song is a duet. So, you can decide which parts were God and which parts were mine. But one of the things where it started was I was so mad at God. And I said, you have no right to ask me how I feel. I was livid at this point. Like, I didn't even want to talk to God. Like, you've been ignoring me this whole time. You have the nerve to ask me how I'm feeling about that. Like, I feel like like this has all been a setup. Like my whole world has come crashing down. Like, I cannot believe you would act concerned now, like after everything has gone wrong. Where were you? Where were you? I mean, I can write my own Psalms. Am I the only one? It says, you have no right to ask me how I feel. You have no right to speak to me so kind. Someday I might find myself looking in your eyes, but for now, we'll go on living separate lives. I'm telling you, I was in full breakup mode with God, and I was doing it's not you, because we know it's not you, it's me. I can't do this. I can't be romanced and loved like that and then just abandoned. I'm not one of those strong ones. I can't do this. I was so mad. Like, how could you do this to me? You could have just left me alone. I left my career. I left everything that I thought was success at the time to fulfill your will. And then you just disappear. I mean, that's how I was feeling at the time. So when you're going through the wall, that's how you can feel. You feel discomfort. You don't want to surrender. Like, I've already surrendered and look how you do me. And I remember watching an episode of Mary when one of the Tina had found out that her husband was cheating on her. And I felt like I've never felt a connection so hard with the person, because she said she was yelling at God. And I'm looking at her like, wow, you are really mad at God. And she says, I'm out here day to day trying to help inspire your people. And this is how you do me. Now, after, all the dust settles, we know that God did not have her husband cheat on her. We know that none of this stuff caught God by surprise, but we get into that you allowed it to happen type of thing. So I felt a connection with her, like, wow, she's really brave to say things like that. All the while I was feeling like that. And because I kept it in for so long, trying not to say those things, it came out just as angry as she did. There was no tragedy. There was no death. There was no cheating. There was no what somebody would look at and say, yes, that's traumatic. It was just, I felt abandoned. I felt abandoned by God. I felt abandoned, like, you had me build this trust in you, and then you just disappeared. To me, that was very traumatic. And I felt guilty for having those types of feelings. I felt a lack of love, and I felt like the closest to God was gone. And it hurt. It hurt a lot, because I'd heard all these stories and how, God is this and God is that. But one of the things about the stage 4 is that you come face to face. Stage 4 is your will, or what you thought about God, coming face to face with who God is. And like I said, learning about this now, at the time, I did not know this, and I'm still here. And one of the reasons why I'm still here and I'm still in love with God, and I'm able to help people during this stage, is because I have been there, done that. And also, I had the conversation. It was a very uncomfortable conversation to have with God, to tell God, you have no right to ask me how I feel. I was so scared to write in my journal because I couldn't stop what was coming out of me. And you know what I found out? God still loves me. God can handle it. God can have the difficult conversations with you and make you feel grateful that you had those type of conversations with him. I rediscovered my faith, not someone else's, not what I've been taught. That's what stage 4 is about. It is just finding out what you know, what you believe, what you love about God, not what you've been told. It's where the rubber meets the road. You can read 80,000 books on marriage. You can go to 80,000 counselors to help your marriage, but you have to be in the relationship day to day in a marriage. And those years, those days, those weeks, those months, those years build and build and build and build and build. As I was saying, a lot of times we don't, there are a lot of leaders that refuse to go through a stage like this because they'll cut it off and say, you've lost your first love. That I heard that a lot. Whenever you try to express, I'm feeling like this, oh, that's because you lost your first love, or you don't have enough faith, or you're a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And questions are not automatically doubting. Take those questions to someone you love, someone who loves you, someone that you're in a relationship that you can trust. Take those questions to God himself, or you can take those questions to your spiritual director, or someone that someone that's been there, that's going to really help. Stage 4 is a journey inward, because stage 3, you've been giving out, you've been helping, you're out. You're helping everyone else. Now it's time for the journey inward, because you have more stages to hit. You need, and I'm granting you now, the freedom to be messy. God is granting you the freedom to be messy. When he says, my burden is easy, my yoke is light, that means he can handle your messiness as well. He's not surprised. Have the conversations with him. Sometimes stage 4 feels like you are having a life or a faith crisis. And like I said, nothing was going on in my life. There was no tragedies there, but what was going on was happening in my faith. I was questioning a lot of what I was learning, and then I felt bad for questioning it. It didn't look like I was growing anymore. It felt like I was stuck. While stage 4 is growth, it doesn't look like that. You have a loss of certainties, a loss of faith. You start, to get through stage 4, you have to start asking for directions, not answers. You have to be okay with not getting the answers that you want or need. You have to be okay with God pointing in the direction you should go. That's going to really help you in stage 4. You have to move back from knowing to seeking again, because sometimes when we hit that productive stage, we think, oh, I know this, I've got it. And then it feels like backwards, like I'm seeking again, like I sought God, I found God, God is here, I know. Then you say, I know God is here. But so instead of seeking, you just say, oh, I know you're here, but I know you're here, but, and anytime you say the but afterwards, that's how you truly feel. I learned that the hard way too. God wants a relationship with you. It's been a relationship, but he wants to get down to the nitty gritty, them hard times. It's very hard to share this part of the journey with others, because it's very hard to describe what's going on. And that's why I said it's really good to find someone who specializes in helping you through these times, because sometimes you don't have to say a word. Like I know a few of my spiritual direction clients, like, I don't know how to say this. And I just nod and go, I know exactly how you feel. Don't waste your time trying to put it in words. This is the stage where God is truly released from the box. Like I know we say, don't put God in a box, but sometimes what we don't understand is that we have boxes, and then we release God from this box, but there's another box right here in our heads, and then there's another box and another box and another box. So we've got, but I release God from the box. There's another box. That's what all these stages are about. They're just another box that you have to release God from the box yet again. In stage 4, our understanding of God changes radically. He becomes more mysterious and it's sometimes more personal. And that's the part we don't like. It's because, when you like say for instance, you've been dating and you think you know enough to marry someone, and then you start living with someone and you're like, I didn't know that about him. Or maybe, oh, we've been married for 2 years. I know everything about him. And then you discover something else that you did not know about your spouse. And I've been married 17 years now. And there are still some times, like I think I know my husband very well. And there are still some times when I go, okay, I didn't know that about you. And it's not always it's not a bad thing. It's just you're learning more things and you have to be able to be okay with you're going to learn new things. So when you're stuck in stage 4, that means you won't go past the questions. Like I said, you can get stuck in stage 4 when you are dead set on, I want an answer to this question instead of direction. Because what happened to me in stage 4, I didn't get a lot of answers. I got pointed towards things. And I got pointed towards things thinking that, oh, they're going to give me my answer. And eventually I did get my answers, but had I not been obedient to keep walking in the direction that God was telling me to walk in, I would not have gotten my answers. So don't get stuck in, I want these questions answered now, I'm not going to move, because you're not going to get your questions answered. I'm going to say 7 times out of 10. In stage 4, you can be stuck if you're always saying, what did I do wrong, God? Tell me what I did wrong. Am I not doing this right? Am I not doing that right? I'm going to go back and try it again. Don't get stuck in self-assessment. And you can also get stuck in stage 4. You can get stuck and you won't move because you're too scared to move, because I tried that. It didn't work. I tried that. One of the things that was a trigger for me when I finally realized that nothing is working that used to work, and I was very upset about that. Fasting was always my go-to. Like, okay, I just have to fast and everything will be great. I'm going to have this great encounter. God is going to break through. I'm going to show him that this is my faith. And I fasted and I fasted and I fasted. And I read stories about people that fasted, and I read Bible stories about people that fasted. And I've fasted before. So it was something that, it was, at this point, I'm going to be honest, it turned into a formula. So I was very, very, very upset because fasting always works. So I'm like, God, what is it? And that's really what triggered the breakup, me wanting to break up with God, because I'm like, you know what? If me starving myself half to death is not enough, then I'm just apparently not enough. Yeah. I'm so glad I can laugh at things like that now. But at the time, it really hurt. It really hurt. It felt like, how dare you? How dare you ignore me? How dare you abandon me? You know I got issues. I am not appreciating this. If you did bring me this far and leave me. There's a song that says, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And at that time, I felt like you did bring me this far to leave me. And what was that? And I know there's I wish I could like immediately think of the scripture. But I think the children of Israel also said that, like, how could he, like, he should have just left us in Egypt. And I was feeling that way. Like, you should have just left me where I was if you're just going to do me like this. I was very, very, very upset. And I'm interested to know, has anyone else felt like that? And I'd love to have a conversation with you. There's healing in conversation. I am telling you. So when you're ready to move on, or when it's time to move on, when you've learned what you need to learn from stage 4, that means you're ready to let go of your self-centeredness in your spiritual ego. I didn't know I had an ego, but me doing all that stuff for God, oh, I'm so unique. I'm so fabulous. No one's doing this. And I used to get so jealous. Like anyone that, oh, God told me a joke, like, I got jealous. Like, God, that was supposed to be me and you's thing. Me and you's. Wow. That was supposed to be our thing. Like, you can't joke with anyone else. This is a unique relationship that we had. I was actually being jealous of other people when they got to have fun with God, because it's like, no, 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 no. You're only supposed to have fun with me. You're only supposed to speak through music with me. That's our thing. Accepting God's purpose for your life. God has a big God is so much bigger than we. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. And sometimes when we get into stage 3, we think, I got it. I'm done. I've got it. I know what to do. I got this, God. Let's move. Let's do this thing. And then we just jump back into the driver's seat at stage 3. And we have to just laugh at our own ego, and that's what stage teaches you. Stage 4 teaches you. You're going to start laughing at yourself. It's painful, but when you start breaking through, you're gonna see why stage 4 was absolutely necessary. You're gonna seek real whole healing, like for wholeness, not just areas. Stage 4 is where you get that wholeness that you've been desiring. And stage 4, you must be willing to commit to whatever it takes. Now, I know in stage 3, we say, Lord, use me, do what you want with me, have your way. This stage 4 this is really when God says, this is what I want to do. And I know there was a wonderful book that I read, and it was called, It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. And one of the things she says is that God does not tell us all of our plans, because our lives can be turned to dust. Because dust is God's favorite ingredient, and God's favorite ingredient when he's making up something. And I really don't want to do an injustice to that. You really should read the entire book before I, took this out, because it sounds very negative, but it's not. God formed Adam out of the dust. And sometimes our ideas have to turn to dust. And that doesn't mean that our ideas are gone because they turn to dust. It just means that God is able to gather them all up and form them into what he wants them to be, what our purpose truly is, to put us on the path, to put us on the road, to get us where he wants us to be spiritually, mentally, so we can prosper and be in good health, even as our soul does prosper. So this conversation was not I'm going to fix it and make it all better. This conversation was to let you know what's out there, what you're in store for. You're not doing anything wrong. This conversation is to let you know that I'm here. And this conversation is to let you know, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'm probably still a little bit in stage 4 because, like I said, it's not a bad thing to go back to being madly in love with God. What? Hello. Yeah, I would love. That's one of the things about stage 4. I was trying so hard to get back to stage 1, and God loved me enough not to allow me to do that because it was an escape. Like, I just want to get back to being crazy in love and nothing else matters. And I don't want to do this work. Let's just go back to the honeymoon phase. And there are times when you can go back to the honeymoon phase, even in stage 4, but you can't escape to the honeymoon phase is what I'm trying to tell you, because God wants to go deeper with you. And wow, little old me. Wow. Little old you. You're that important to God. So my advice is, have the conversation with him. If you feel like this is bubbling up and you want to break up, and he's going to give you all the reasons why you shouldn't, all the reasons why you can't. And he's going to help you work on the relationship with him. And he's going to help us to do better. So thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys immensely, as you know. And I'm going to see you guys next week.